see you, Leland.
Is there like a camp-like atmosphere going on at Camp David right now? What's it like there?
They call it debate camp, actually. It used to be that we went to a neutral sort of site away from everything else. When you're the incumbent president, you've got such a thing, and it's called Camp David. So, yeah, people are staying in the cabins.
A lot of pizza and beer and what else?
All kinds of stuff. And they've got a wonderful store up there. People are shopping. But ultimately, what you're doing is a lot of hours working with sample questions, working with refining answers, taping answers, reviewing the tapes, adjusting the answers based on the tapes, and doing full-fledged mock debates.
All right, so we played the Gerald Ford moment.
Yeah.
What is worse, not having a home run or having a major flub?
Well, I would say having a major flub.
How do you prevent that?
By being ready, by being prepared, as an advisor in 10 cycles since 1976, the greatest reward was when my candidate came off the stage and said there was no question that we hadn't practiced.
That we hadn't prepped, that we knew everything.
Absolutely. And you can do it if you work hard and if you have a candidate like Joe Biden who's willing to work hard, because he takes this seriously. This is one of the times when the American people will focus. It's early, but they'll focus, and whatever he does and former President Trump does will have an impact.
You had the, I would almost say privilege, I think, of doing this with Bill Clinton, who was one of the greatest communicators that ever existed in history. That I think we can say a lot of things about Joe Biden, even nice things, that probably would not be come first to mind. How does it change when you're dealing with someone who that's not their strong suit?
The key to being a good debate advisor is to structure a system that helps that candidate. Not what you think is right, not what worked for the past person, but works for that person. So, for instance, when I prepared Geraldine Ferraro, she was a 3-term congresswoman from Queens, whose biggest accomplishment was being a co-sponsor of the Black Caucus budget. And we had to teach foreign policy.
Teach her everything.
Teach everything. On the other hand, Bill Clinton, you used him as an example, he'd gone through a whole series of primaries debates against smart and tough people. So it wasn't about the substance. He knew the substance. It was about honing it down to 30 seconds, 90 seconds, rebuttals. We did practice debated 23 times during that.
God. There is obviously what you just talked about the questions, how important the questions. But oftentimes it's not the questions or the answers on policy that people remember. It's the nonverbal communication, the body language, the sort of extemporaneous moment like George W. Bush and Al Gore. Take a listen.
13. That's what the question in this campaign is about. It's not only what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues, but can you get things done? And I believe I can. All right. I've had a record of appointing judges in the state of Texas. That's what a governor gets to do.
How do you change somebody's affect?
Yeah, those were two of the classic examples. With a head shake, George W. Bush sent a message, and it was devastating. And Al Gore, by his rolling of eyes and sighing, sent a message that was not helpful. What you do is you practice even such things as that. I'll give you an example, Leland. Let's say I'm the candidate, and let's say there's a camera here, and a camera there. Well, when the question's asked, I'm looking at the moderator, and that's the camera. But I want to get over here. But if I go like this, I look like I'm shifty-eyed. So you go down to your papers, and then you come up. It's called the bounce. You got to teach things as simple as that in terms of body language and movement.
Work on it, work on it, work on it. This was an interesting moment because I remembered it differently than my executive producer did. This was Bernie Shaw and Michael Dukakis in the beginning of 1988. Take a listen.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life.
Let me tell you a couple things about that. We called that the death penalty answer. We practiced it 10 times. In fact, at a speech at Colby College the night before, he even used it. But when Bernie asked that question, instead of showing emotion, what are you talking about? Raped and murdered my wife? He gave a clinical answer. And that they sent a terrible message. And I'll tell you another example from that debate that you'll find interesting. We always practice what I call the heroes question. I'm playing the Republican. Who are your heroes? My heroes. Democrat. Who are your heroes? Well, that night of that debate, Michael froze and used my heroes.
Oh, you were playing the Republican.
It was okay because it was like Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. It didn't hurt, but that's how the thing can really go awry, and you can't really be totally prepared.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.